If you've been following the Maryland housing market lately, you've probably noticed something interesting. Some homes sell the very first weekend they hit the market, while others seem to sit for weeks or even months without any real activity. So, what's the difference? That's exactly what we're going to break down in today's video. Why some homes sell quickly in Maryland while others just don't move, and what you can actually do about it if your home has been sitting longer than expected. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Audrey Rozier, a licensed realtor here in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. Now, before I get started, I just want to notate that this video does not reflect my personal opinion, but does reflect market research. As a licensed real estate professional, it is not legal advice and is not intended to steer or discourage anyone from any specific location. Always consult with a qualified real estate agent to discuss your personal housing needs. With that being said, let's get into the video. Now, let's start with one of the biggest factors, pricing strategy. Most homeowners assume that listing high gives them room to negotiate. In reality, the opposite is usually true. Buyers have access to so much data now that they can see comparable sales, active listings, and how much each home has been on the market. If your price is out of alignment, they'll scroll right past it. In Maryland's current market, homes priced correctly within the first 10 days tend to attract the strongest offers. When a home sits for more than 30 days, buyers start to wonder what's wrong with it, even if there's nothing wrong at all. I've seen sellers lose tens of thousands of dollars simply because their initial price pushed buyers away. In this market, strategy matters more than wishful thinking. When I work with sellers, one of the first things I do is walk them through both the comparative market analysis, aka CMA, and the absorption rate. Basically, how many homes are selling in your price range versus how many are available. The data tells us how aggressive or patient the pricing needs to be. The next major factor is condition. Buyers in Maryland have become more selective, especially in 2025. With higher interest rates, they're looking for homes that feel move-in ready. Now, if your home needs visible repairs, outdated fixtures, or has cluttered photos online, buyers mentally start adding up costs, and it turns them off quickly. Now, this doesn't mean that you need a full renovation. Small, targeted updates do go a long way. A fresh coat of neutral paint, updated lighting, some new hardware, and a deep clean can completely shift buyer perception. From a hospitality standpoint, the way that your home feels during a showing does matter. Buyers pick up on the small things, the smells, lighting, the temperature. I always tell my clients that you only get one first impression, and in this market, that impression happens within the first 15 seconds of walking through the front door. Now let's talk about marketing. Even the most beautiful home can struggle to sell if the marketing doesn't match the product. This goes far beyond just listing the home on the MLS. In today's world, buyers expect professional photography, video tours, social media exposure, and accurate descriptions. The majority of Maryland buyers start their search online, so if your listing photos don't stand out, you're invisible before the first showing even happens. When I list a property, I make sure we're not just marketing to local buyers, but also to relocation clients coming in from DC, Virginia, and even out of the state. The more eyes that are on your property, the more likely you are to attract competitive offers. Another common reason that homes sit on the market is timing. Certain times of the year bring stronger buyer activity than others. For example, spring and early summer are still the most active seasons in Maryland, especially for families trying to move before the new school year. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't still sell in the fall or even the winter, but your strategy needs to reflect current buyer behavior. Pricing, presentation, and incentives all need to align with demand. If your home was listed during a slower period and didn't sell, it might not be the home, it might be the timing. Now let's get into something that's rarely talked about, accessibility and showing logistics. Buyers today expect convenience. If they can't easily schedule a showing because of limited hours, restrictive instructions, or last-minute cancellations, they'll move on to another property. Sellers sometimes underestimate how much this affects results. I do always encourage my clients to keep their home as accessible as possible within reason. That means having clear instructions, using a showing service, and ensuring that the home is presentable even with short notice. The goal is to make it easy for agents to show your property because more showings mean more potential offers. Now let's also talk about agent communication. Sometimes homes sit not because of pricing or condition, but because communication between agents breaks down. When I represent a seller, I make sure to follow up with every agent who shows the home, gather feedback, and analyze patterns. If we're hearing consistent feedback about the layout, price, or cosmetic issues, we don't just ignore that, we adapt. A stagnant strategy leads to a stagnant listing, and adjustments early on can save you weeks of waiting later. Here's another piece that often gets overlooked. financing options. In Maryland, we have a mix of financing options, including FHA, VA, and conventional buyers, also USDA. If your property is only appealing to a narrow segment, say cash only or conventional buyers because of repairs or appraisals, that does limit your audience. Sometimes sellers don't realize that making small repairs or offering credits can open up the door to FHA and VA buyers. This is especially important for older homes or properties with minor defects. The wider your eligible buyer pool, the faster your home will sell. This is where creative purchasing can also come in. If a seller has significant equity or a low interest rate mortgage, they might be open to a creative offer, such as a subject-to arrangement or even allowing a buyer to assume the mortgage if applicable. Now, these strategies aren't for everyone, but they can create opportunities where traditional financing falls short. So if you're a seller in a challenging position, maybe you need to sell quickly, or your home needs work, or you're behind on your mortgage payments. Understanding these options can make all the difference. There are even investors who will offer referral fees to people who help connect homeowners in these very specific situations. So, even if you're not selling personally, or maybe you know someone that's struggling or facing foreclosure, that referral could lead to a solution and compensation for helping. Now let's circle back to location and perception. Not all Maryland markets move at the same speed. A home in Howard County might get multiple offers in a week, while a similar home in Baltimore County could take much longer. That's not necessarily a reflection of the property, it's about supply, demand, and perception of value in each submarket. That's why I always focus on hyperlocal data. Statewide averages don't tell the story of your specific neighborhood. And when you understand what's selling nearby, what's sitting on the market, and what's expired, you can make strategic decisions rather than emotional ones. Lastly, there's expectation management. In every market, there are sellers who think that their home is the exception. They love their home, and understandably so. But buyers don't share that same emotional attachment. They're comparing features, location, and price objectively. So homes that sell quickly are the ones aligned with current market expectations. Homes that sit usually reflect the seller's expectations more than the market's. When I sit down with clients, my job isn't just to list the home, it's to strategize. I show them what buyers are seeing, what they're ignoring, and how we can position the property for maximum visibility and return. Selling isn't just about posting a price and waiting. It's about reading the market, adjusting quickly, and presenting the home so that buyers feel confident about moving forward. If you've been thinking about selling your home and want to know what it would realistically sell for in this market, you can schedule a call with me using the link down below. You can also fill out the contact form on my website. I'd be happy to walk you through your options, whether you're ready to sell now or just planning ahead. That's all I have for today's video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I will see you on the next one.